So if you compare provider with our previous example animated builder, hope so you can little bit connect the dots. So in our previous example, if you compare with server client architecture means, for example, your change notifier there all the business operations were happening and your animated builder were consuming it up. So whatever maybe the changes were happening, it was continuously consuming, right? So in our this example, in the provider example also, your change notifier will be doing all the business operations. It will be changing. After changing it up, it will notify it up, right, in your UI side, and that will be consumed by, one is consumer, you can do it, or another way is provider dot of context. Now these are both technically same, but it's not same again. So this concept will little bit clarify in our upcoming whenever maybe we'll be implementing it up. But yeah, samajh lo ki both are almost same only. So let's go into a deep dive. So hey guys, as you can see, we have provide example here, and this provide example inside we have placeholder, right? So we'll just remove the placeholder first of all, and we'll put container. That's my favorite. No, 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 not container. We'll put scaffold. Let's put scaffold, and this scaffold will put body, and body will put, for example, we'll put text one, right? So again, as you can see it up here, your one got printed, and we'll try to take it little bit center first of all, and we'll try to put little bit styling. I'll put, yeah, textile, and font size also will be putting it up, font size for example, and we'll put one column also here. Let's put one column because we'll be putting it up here, one field button, okay, and we'll be doing all the operation. Just let's put text here, click, right? So as you can see, we'll put main axis alignment dot center. So as you can see now, one got printed. Now this one I need to listen it up from your change notifier, right? So how we can, damn. So that is the thing. Here we have to implement now provider concept, guys. Now to initialize your change notifier classes, what we're going to do, we can do this thing by your change notifier provider. So change notifier provider, it is just going to initialize your change notifier classes and pass it to your subtrays, okay? So it is doing, I can say, your dependency injection. So yeah, let's see. So let's wrap it up with change notifier provider, with that your create, right? So now this create, what it will be having, so if you see the syntax properly, right, so what it's suggesting it up, so you can see that change notifier, it will be expecting the class, which class it will be listening, so it will be our controller class, right? So this controller class we have to import it up, and next here we'll be putting it up your controller. Now we have to listen it up. How we'll be putting it up, your provider dot of context, so much miscap is happening, dot your, here of is expecting the class, which class it will be listen. So here we'll be putting dot your counter, right? So as we refresh it up, so there is one problem we will be facing, yes. So hey guys, whenever maybe you are using provider.of context, you have to be very careful. Why? It may happen sometime that it's try to access the context outside of your provider class. right? So to avoid this thing only, we usually use consumer. This is the first important point. And second important point is provided is sometime it may be expensive. Okay, that we'll see later. But now currently how to resolve this problem, right? So there is change notifier provider. It is having one property, that is builder. Okay, so you need to use builder's context. Now it is what it is trying to do. It is trying to access the context which is outside of the provider. Okay, na. So you have to put builder. Let's suggest, and we will cut it up here, and we will just put return, and then after, now let's restart it. Why it is taking this much of time? And voila, as you can see, the first came. And when I'm clicking, of course nothing will happen because I have to write inside on press, right? So now let's do on click operation. We'll try to do provider dot of dot what counter function, right? If I'm not wrong. Okay, let's go to the counter function. We have to do counter function, and okay, let's try to reset. And okay, there is something we can sense. Some problem is there. What's the problem? So this problem is saying that you have to make provider listen to false. So what happens by default, your provider is always listening. Okay, and when you are doing any operations, one press operation, that listens state all has to be false, otherwise it will throw error. Okay, so listen, I will make it into false. Okay, now let's try to once again try to increase it up. Okay, let's restart. Okay, once it's restarted, voila. So you saw how much easy the provider is. So that is the thing. So now next we'll go to the consumer, and we already saw that what are the disadvantages. A disadvantages your provider is having. We'll see the next disadvantages also, what provider is means provider dot context. Yeah, okay. Provider dot of dot context it's having, right? Hey guys, as I told you that provider dot of context is little bit more expensive, or maybe more expensive than your consumer, right? So let's have one example. We'll be taking up one example where first here you can see that first I am going to listen it up directly from the provider dot of context, and next we'll try to convert it up into consumer, and we'll see that how the execution flow works, right? So here you can see that I am going to put up here debug point in text also, and here also one debug point. Just it's the same program only, right? Here you can see that change notifier provider we kept, and under widget 1, right, we'll be putting it up the whole body, right? So now let's try to reset, right? So it started and the counter is equivalent to 1 as it started. So let's try to put it, let's try to increment it. So you can see that it is heated to hello Pranav, and next then after it will go and try to listen the incremented value, right? And it became 2, voila. So the incremented became 2. So here you can see because of provider the whole body it got resetted or the rebuilt, right? Now we'll try to replace this thing completely with consumer. So what we will do, we'll just try to wrap it up with consumer. So we'll put consumer, and what class it will be listening, so that we have to put it will be listening to the controller class. So that I kept, and this whole thing will be taken out, or we have to take from the child to under builder, right? Consumer builder. So we have to put builder, and we'll be having this and this thing, this complete widget, the text widget, whichever may be listening continuously, we have to take it under builder, right? We'll put return, and yeah, let's now try to restart it. First, let's stop the debug point. Okay, now let's start the debug point, and we'll try to keep 1 2 debug point here also. And here you can see I kept the debug point at text widget hello Pranav, and wherever maybe it's listening up there also. And okay, sorry, I forgot to change. I have to change it from provider to value, right? This will be. Let's try to restart. First, I will try to stop the debug point, and I will try to restart it up. So now let's start the debug point. Here you can see wherever maybe I kept the debug point. So in hello Pranab, first text widget, I kept the debug point, and next our value dot counter where maybe continuously listening under the consumer, and your context dot rate, of course, right? So now let's try to increment it up. So you see it got incremented, and then after it got incrementation is going to happen, and you can see that the text widget, which is the hello Pranab, is not got hit up. Okay, so next it is going to execute. I can say that value dot counter, it got executed, and that's it. Implementation is done. So here you can see only wrapping under consumer, the widget which is going to build up, the we can avoid the rebuilding of other widgets. Okay, so here we can see by only wrapping the widgets which is only wanted to build, okay, we can avoid other widgets to rebuild. Okay, so here the other widgets which we should not rebuild is maybe here hello Pranav, or maybe other animated widget also in complex pages. Okay, that we don't want to rebuild, only the state of the widget which we wanted to change and rebuild it, or maybe render it up upon the screen, that only we wanted to change. So just wrap it under consumer, and voila, everything will be all right, right? Now guys, as we have bitched this much about provider.op context, you may ask that why you should use provider.op context, right? So as we see in our previous example only, maybe you understood, but I will clarify here much more detail. Okay, so here you can see in button clicking time we have used provider.off context here. Okay, we didn't use something like your consumer value or maybe context.off, right? We can use, but here we can use provider.off context. It means that wherever maybe you are not planning to subscribe anything, it means that for example you are clicking it up and you are passing the control from UI to your business logic place, right? So here the control goes from UI to your business logic. For example, you are planning that after having all business logics, from business logics to UI you will have some changes, okay, and your UI is continuously listening, right? So in that case, provider dot off context, just try to avoid. You can use at the end of the day, but it will re-render the whole widget. So you can do one thing, another thing, that you just take out that text widget and put it under another widget class and rebuild it up based upon the context of the independent that classes. Okay, don't try to rebuild by context of the parent classes. This is you can do one thing, or else you can use, you have consumer, one thing is you have, right? So yeah,